Welcome back. It's time for Driving Maul, right here live on a Tuesday.
Morning.
Sean.
How's my mic? Do you think it'll last?
Yeah, I seem to have figured out which two are the
problem child.
Yeah, and need to. But I think they actually may need to go in somewhere and get some upgrading or treating, or
like thrown out of a window, for instance.
No, fixed.
How you, China?
They're a bit expensive to throw out a window.
For now. How you doing, boss?
I'm alright, and you, man?
Awesome. How's your
actually,
weekend?
I'm not.
Okay.
But we'll get onto the stories later.
I was going to lead in gently.
The Community Cup, let's get right into it because we've got lots to talk about today. Obviously, there was Community Cup this weekend. Hammies had a bye, but Durban did play 43-35 away win against the best named team in sport at the moment, in my opinion. Don's Pawn Shop PE Police. How do you get a pawn shop to sponsor a police team?
Because they probably do broken cars or something. You know, the tow trucks. Maybe they're involved there. I don't know. Talking about putting people in a box. Yeah. But yes, they actually played at the Nelson Mandela Bay Stadium as a curtain raiser for the Kings and the Lions. Had a pre-season friendly kind of vibe, and a mate of mine went to go watch it, and he said that Durban looked great from the get-go. PE Police I thought were a little bit stronger. I thought this would be a possible banana skin for Durban, but they came through with flying colours after their first loss in the first week, and they've been dominating ever since.
And then just to run through other results from the weekend, Collegians 39-16 up over the Shumba Pharaohs. Rovers Velcom losing at home to Westbank 27-23. Rustenburg Impala over the East Rand Crane Springs. Who names these teams?
It's branded. If it's just title sponsors, but just go for the last bit.
Just like think about Crane Springs. 78-7 the Impala got up over the Springs. 30-all draw between Sishen and the Evergreens. Good result for Hammies, that one. Yeah,
it's actually a great result for Sishen. It's not a great result for Evergreens. Basically the group now, any of the top three sides in the group can finish in the top two. So it's all to fight for at the moment. There's no one guaranteed a spot in that Pool C.
But a win for the Evergreens would have put Hammies into second spot.
Yes.
So it worked in there. Although points different, yes, it would have actually. And then just quickly charging through a couple of the other results. Vaseline Wanderers up over Bulk Villages Worcester, the 53-30 that scored. I mean, there's some massive scores coming out.
They're in our group as well. Wanderers took a shock loss last week to Evergreens, and then a good win this weekend. So it's pretty tight.
And then Collegians over College Rovers over Crusaders 52-6, and the final game of the weekend saw Pretoria Police thump Raiders 54-31. Fixtures this weekend, just to go through the ones that are important to us. Hammies are playing Evergreens at home at the Stefan Oval in Greenpoint at 4 o'clock Saturday, and Durban are playing at home against Rustenburg Impala also at 4 o'clock at the Durban Rugby Club. So if you're floating around in Cape Town, get down to see those. Dispatch Collegians could be a cracker as well. Oh,
yes, definitely.
And then it's Wanderers versus Shisen in Hammies' group. So lots to play for there. Moving swiftly along onto Varsity Cup. And I tell you what, this thing just keeps throwing up some results, does it not? UCT, they took a bit of a hiding to Shimlers, 44-24. But to be honest, you're behind the 8 ball when you lose your halfback and your fly half in the opening 15 minutes, and then just numerous injuries thereafter. Couldn't get things going. They were down 21-0 after 19 minutes, so they fought back game lead to essentially win it 24-23 in the last 60.
If you want to somehow find a positive out of that, go for it. Yes, I agree. Losing those to your halfback pairing is tough. But it is Varsity Cup. They possibly should have had a look at getting a couple of guys going. Nick Holton moved to 10. Didn't do a bad job. Kicking wasn't bad. I thought Droli. Yeah. Damn it, I struggle there. He at outside centre, he's big, he's strong. I spoke about him a few weeks ago. Defensively was my biggest concern for him. He did his job this week. He was left wanting for one of the breaks, I think. But other than that, he's hard, he's aggressive, and he scored 2 tries this weekend. So that kid, I don't be surprised if you see him in a Vodacom Cup squad or a Super Rugby or Curry Cup squad in the near future.
Picker over CUT, but credit to CUT. We didn't think they'd get double figures in a game again this season, and they did manage 2 tries in this one. 53-16 the final score there. Marty's finally coming good, 26-16 over the Medibas.
Horrible wind at Donny Craven Stadium, and Medibas were leading at halftime, but they played with the wind. And anyone who knows Cape Town wind, especially the wind out in the Donny Craven Stadium, it's quite mean.
So that's 2 from 2 for Marty's, and they're now pushing for a playoff spot. Tix 34-0 dismantling UJ, and what it means in terms of the log is that
Tikkies are leading on 25 with the points difference lead over Shimlers, who are also on 25. Picker in third with 19, and Ikeys in fourth on 18, followed very closely by Marty's in 5th on 16 and UJ in 6th on 15. Now those basically where we are is 6 sides are fighting for 4 sides are fighting for 2 spots at the moment.
And Picker are in danger because they have to go to Shimlers in the last game. If they
tough.
lose that and Marty's and UCT win their games against UJ and CUT respectively, so you can, let's call it a Marty's bonus point win. If Picker don't pick up any points at Shimlers and UCT get up over UJ, Picker are going to miss out on the semis.
It's insane. It's really tight, and it makes it fun and entertaining. But having only 8 sides in a tournament where you guaranteed 50, well, there's a 50% chance of you making the knockouts. It's quite interesting, and considering the one side is always going to get a pounding.
Now, quickly before we move on to European rugby and then getting into Super Rugby and stuff, there's something I do need to talk about.
Jeez.
2 referees plus 2 touch judges and a TMO, and still the officiating is of the utmost cuckest level in Varsity Cup that I've seen. There was one call that was made on a TMO referral about I can't even remember what the hell it was.
It was a cuck call.
Yeah, it was like, he comes back and anyway, it was ludicrous. But there was one that nobody saw and you did.
Yes, it was diabolical. The officiating has been poor. We've had it kind of been fluctuating.
2 refs on the field.
Yes, there's been some good stuff and some bad stuff, but it all refers to, regardless of how many referees on the field, when you go upstairs to the TMO, there's only one idiot upstairs, and forgive me for saying that because generally they are cuck and they made cuck decisions yesterday, but there was some terrible TMO officiating. But yeah, one thing I did spot yesterday, and it all stemmed from that Super Rugby penalty try against the Sharks a little while ago, where it was in the dead ball line and Unungani got caught up, and then he against the Stormers, and he threw the ball and there was a penalty try because an offside line was created.
Yes.
Now, in the Tikkies game yesterday, UJ were pushing and they weren't too much behind at that particular point in time, and the ball went into the dead ball line for the fly half to kick, and he had to kind of step a defender, and then he ended up kicking it and absolutely scuffed it, and it went forward to one of his players who fielded the ball, ran behind and kicked it back. There were 2 UJ players on him. That, to me, penalty try every day of the week. And I videoed it in some great, terrible footage. But you can check it out on my timeline at Judge Rugby. It's a little bit on the way down. I'll get Don we'll retweet it from Blokes on the Couch shortly. And then you can let me know what your thoughts are on how 2 referees and 1 captain and 1 coach, because they have the white card, yes, and they are able to use the white card. So it's been changed. The laws have been changed. You may only use the white card in the event of points being scored, whether it's scored up or down. So if someone scored and they shouldn't have, or if someone should have scored and they didn't, you can use the yellow card. The white card. So yeah, there are 4 people effectively, and 5-6 because there's two linesmen. So 6 people missed that. The TMO will get a reprieve now because he had nothing to do with it unless he was called into action. So he was in the clear. But shocking work.
No comment. We'll get on to more of it later. We are going to play a little bit of music. When we come back, we're going to just jump into top 14 because there were a couple of games.
And Six Nations,
which has now come down to the wire.
Yes!
We called it last week, and it happened just the way we thought it might. You're listening to Driving Maul live here on Loud Radio. We'll be back after a little bit of Brian Adams.
What? Announcement and more a public request. Please, can someone help me out with this music?
Well, if you get here early enough to help me set it up, we could.
But I suggest every week, and I don't have it, and then you blame your dad.
Yeah, but you can't get me to play music that I don't have.
Well, get it.
Bring it. Top 14. not a good result at the end of the day for Castres, with La Rochelle picking up a win against Oyonnax. They are now quite far adrift at the bottom of the table. 6 points between Lyon and Castres and La Rochelle in 12th place. And it's starting to look like a relegation battle.
And just so you know, it was an 80th minute kick that sunk them. 21-19, they went down to Bayonne away from home. According to the home away rules that top 14 have, the unwritten rules, that's the right result. But tough result for Castres. They are in heaps of shit.
And Lyon not helped either by losing at home to Toulon and upsetting the apple cart by not getting a home victory. 22-14, Toulon won there.
Yeah, Toulon also took a massive beating. They probably got 5 first-choice injuries. Bucky's Berta re-broke his finger. Joan Smith is out with a shoulder.
And the
Claessen's out for
France.
France is out for Claessen's is out for a concussion. David Smith has torn hamstrings or something. Incidentally, David Smith scored more points this weekend, and he scored 3 or 4 tries last week. Doesn't have his contract renewed by Toulon. Interesting. Anyway, that's the international player rule vibe that's coming in next year.
Any other interesting results? Grenoble getting up over Stade France at Stade France.
Away from home.
Yeah.
Who would have thunk? Yeah, that's also interesting. And Mornay-Stein started the game and finished the game by all accounts. Well, he made it to the 74th minute, that I know. That's interesting work. Jonathan Wozniacki at 10 for Grenoble has been doing pretty well, and Charles McLeod's playing there at 9. He's been starting most of their games with Hugh Uplon at fullback. So
and what it means for Grenoble is that they've hauled themselves up into playoff contentions, because with I think 6 games to go, they are sitting 4 points off a semi-spot.
Sure.
So
how many home games do they have, though?
Not enough. It's still Toulon and Clermont top of the pile there. Right, let's move on. I don't think there's too many fixtures this weekend, and we're not really.
No, just to let you know, there's Six Nations on. So there's Six Nations Senior, Six Nations Women's, and the Under-20s. The LV Cup final, which is between Saracens and Exeter. The semi-finals were played this weekend. Saracens beat Northampton Saints, and Exeter beat Leicester Tigers in the semi-final of the LV Cup. So that final's on this weekend. So this weekend we've got Super Rugby, Six Nations, and the LV Cup final. That is it.
It is. And then just quickly, just in terms of the Viva Premiership, they've confirmed its longest ever television rights deal after completing a 4-year contract extension with BT Sport.
We don't care.
Billions.
If you care, tweet us. We'll make sure to cover that after 4 years are done.
Yeah, well, they've broken their records. They signed a 152 million deal in 2012, and it's just in terms of the salary cap and like, if you're going to be worried as a South African, there's more money flowing in the direction of South African rugby players. France 29, Italy 0 on Sunday. It was
so much for Rome being a massive fortress. I'm going to eat my words there, but that was by far, that wasn't Sunday, and I'm glad we're starting off with that, because it was the worst game of rugby I have seen. There were, you know how much I love my rugby. I was at a braai and my mates were watching the football. I don't know what's wrong with them, but I was watching the rugby on my own, and I actually had to stop myself from walking away from the game to go watch soccer. There were so many handling errors. It was diabolical.
But it was chilly and rain swept, and
it was diabolical. They play in Europe. It's not like it's an unknown flippin' entity. Do me a favor.
Well, the net result of this Six Nations campaign is Philip St. Andre is considering his Six Nations future. I think he's having it considered for him.
Well, France are still in mathematically with a chance of winning this.
Are they?
Yes. I will talk you through it later, but let's go through the results. Great result for France in the end. A solid victory of 29-0. Be that as it may, it was a terrible game to watch, but a great try nonetheless. And then Ireland-Wales, possibly the game of the year.
Yeah, look, let's get on to that one last. We'll just quickly brush off England-Scotland. England did the necessary to beat Scotland 25-13, although the score was probably not what they would have wanted, because with the result going the right way for them in Cardiff, if they'd put on more, they would be odds-on favourite to win the Six Nations this coming weekend.
They're leading the
sure.
thing.
But if they'd put Scotland to the sword by like 30 or 40 instead of 12, it's a different ball game.
It's tough.
Jonathan Joseph scored another try for the season, though. I think he scored more tries than Ireland have in total.
Great try by Jonathan Joseph to get the ball in open play. Some good feet to go over and score. Terrible defence by Scotland. Forward scored a great try. Noel scored a great try. It was some excellent tries scored by England, which we don't really expect. And another thing that is frustrating is everyone, because all the England fans knew, and everyone is very much aware of the points difference in Six Nations, because that's the biggest factor, because there are no bonus points. And everyone wanted Danny Cipriani on more. He got 3 minutes, and I worked it out. He's had 22 minutes in the Six Nations for 2015. How sad is that?
Yeah, well, it's his fault for being a tonsil.
He's not a tonsil. The coach is a tonsil.
Wales 23, Ireland 16, and geez, did the Irish not have a crack at this one in the second half? But unfortunately, Paul O'Connell's 100th Test cap could not be turned into a victory for Ireland, and it would have been back-to-back Grand Slam and Six Nations titles. Now they have to go another week. But what a cracking game of rugby. The weirdest part was Ireland 64% of the possession and made like 6 or 7 turnovers. They basically dominated the game, and somehow Wales managed to hold on at Cardiff.
You know, we see it more and more happening. It's happened a little bit in Super Rugby and stuff, where guys are just being absolutely dominated, but they're staying in the game. You know, and they maybe sneak it at the end, or they hold on to a lead. The Welsh defence, that is the one thing your stats, the only part of your stats will tell you is tackles made or tackles complete percentage, but the Welsh defence was out of this world. I have never seen anything like it.
289 tackles.
You know, when a side makes that many tackles, they generally lose because they're under the pump so much. And
I mean, Luke Chartres made 37 tackles on his own, and Ireland made 104.
I tell you, a few things to come out of that game. I know Barnes was punished a little bit for being too much on his whistle, but Jonathan Davies put in a massive handoff on Johnny Sexton, and you know, that was one of the talking points.
That was huge. The
other two,
through my beer goggles, I can remember seeing that now. I'm just thinking,
eat the ground, my friend. No. The other thing that impressed me, Brian O'Driscoll sent out 2 tweets after the game. One he sent to Jamie Roberts. He said, "Bud, that is the best defensive display I've seen by a centre in my life." That's something. And the other thing was, he says he doesn't care what. There were 2 great teams on the park, and the team that won today was a team that had by far the best defence out there. And it's no word of a lie. And the irony is Wales haven't been defending that well this year. So they've pulled it out for this game, and that's what makes the Six Nations special. And they knew they needed to win this game to be in with an outside shot, and they're in with it. And Ireland this weekend is going to be an absolute humdinger.
Yes, now I hear what you're saying about France could win it. If they beat England, Scotland beat Ireland, and Italy beat Wales.
That's why I said mathematically. They're in with a shot. That is the most insane thing, is they could still win it. And you know, the one thing bonus points would have taken that opportunity away.
Sure.
So, you know, it makes their last game exciting, but it makes all the games leading up to it boring.
Yeah. Now, what it means is, if Wales put 40 or 50 past Italy, which they're going to probably, they need to go out and do.
I reckon they're going to score 35-ish points. That's what I reckon.
No, look, they've got to go hell for leather.
Yeah.
So
that puts them on 47.
Yeah. England, France is in all likelihood going to be a tight game.
Yeah, let's say they get 7 points, then they'll be on 44, which is 3 points behind
and Ireland
Wales.
Are going to run rampant over Scotland because they have to.
They have to, but history for Ireland in Scotland is not a good one.
Well, aside from that, the history of this tournament this season, I believe, and I stand corrected, Ireland have scored 2 penalty tries and actually 2 or 3 themselves.
Yeah, they're not going to. But the thing is, they'll get it with the boot. That's the thing, is they don't have to score the tries. You know, France won their game this weekend just by kicking their points and just gaining a substantial lead and then dominated. And there is a space in rugby for it. So Ireland could do it, yes, but they're going to have to go and score tries. And I tell you now, the Irish public will hang the whole lot of them if they play boring rugby because they know they need to score tries to win. Scotland, even though they are 0 from 4, have been in the games. They narrowly lost to Italy. They should have won that, but they narrowly lost to Italy.
That's the thing is that you can't see Ireland winning by more than 10 to 12, even though they need to.
Yes, Scotland were taken apart by England eventually, but they were competitive for most of the game. And either they're going to pick themselves up and go out at Murrayfield and just be flipping Mel Gibson on everyone and beat the cuck out of them, or they're going to just roll over and get pumped.
So the situation is this: Wales play first at 2:30. They have to go out and score as many points as they can. There's nothing else that they can do other than get a massive points differential in their favour.
Just 2:30 our time, by the way.
Ireland will then know what they need to do to get above Wales, and obviously they know they've got to make up 5 points on England as well. So they'll go out and they'll know what they need to do. By the time England kick off, they will know exactly how many points they need to pump the French by.
It is insane. And I tell you, the French, they love to spoil a party. I think that's probably their biggest asset, is they really enjoy spoiling a party. They're not going to go out there and go to England, there's your 45 points. And it's not like they're friends with the English in any way, shape, or form. So we are in for a cracking weekend of Six Nations. And, all these times are South African times, but Italy, Wales at 2:30, at 4:30, Scotland, Ireland, and then at 7 o'clock, England, France, and also 7 o'clock is Sharks playing Chiefs. 7:10. A little bit of flannel checking, channel flicking.
Okay, sure.
Another one for me, and I'm out of here.
Right, and on that bombshell, we're going to take a break. When we come back, it's Super Rugby, and then we're going to get into sinking our teeth into potential Springboks ahead of the June series. I know it's early in the piece, but why the hell not? You're listening to Driving More live here on Loud Radio. We'll be back after some George Harrison and Travelling Wilburys.
Welcome back to Driving Maul. At least we've lost a few of the youngsters and brought in some of the educated folk with that music. But something I missed. Well, not missed. I've been thinking about it all day, quite excitedly. But happy St. Patrick's Day, mate.
Oh, this is true. We actually should have had some beer in here.
I know I can't. I've got training later, but I'm definitely going to have a.
Don't make your problems mine.
have a pint of the black goodness later. But yeah, St. Paddy's Day. Yeah, cannot wait. But yes, jumping straight into Super Rugby, there's a couple of things I've just picked up now. Tim Nana Williams has gone home. I knew about this. He buggered up his finger against the Stormers. Sonny Bill Williams also on his way home. So they've lost their 12-13 combo.
I'm still surprised he came back on the field after taking a cock to the head.
Bullshit. The rules clearly state if you in any way, shape or form lose consciousness, you need to be removed from the field. None of this bullshit.
He was out cold, dude. I watched.
None of this bullshit about but how the doctor's supposed to know. That is like being ignorant. Like, I didn't know it was a one-way, Your Honor. Well, it's bullshit. You should have known that he should never ever have come back, and that is absolutely disgusting. We're taking like 15,000 steps back from those concussion protocols and stuff like that. And the other thing which I know you want to go back to Nana Williams, but I see Chris Kurajani has just signed another contract with ARU. So.
Awesome. Can we start with Friday's game?
To Vita. But anyway, I just wanted to jump in there. There we go. Knock yourself out, big guy.
Yeah, Sonny Bill Williams style.
It's his first knockout, by the way.
I know, it took a cock to the head.
Yes, you actually finally delivered a joke on cue. Everything. How long have you been practicing that for?
It came out sitting in the stands at Newlands. I swear, he went down. I was like, he's gone. That's him. Game over. Literally, everyone else was still like, what? Where? I said, Sonny Bill Williams just got knocked clean out.
I was at the game as well. We'll dive into the game and tactics later because I know you and I discussed it.
Hurricanes continue on their merry way. Bonus point victory at home after a week off. Julian Xavier, just a beast.
And I tell you, and someone I've been speaking highly about, and he's slowly getting into the mix, not making such an impact as his brother, but is RD Xavier.
No, the link play, and I mean, he does everything right. As a loose forward, the link play, the dirty work.
Everyone was concerned about his size. He's fixed that because he's bulked up.
But it's the hands and the defense,
that's the
and
thing.
the rucks and the mauls and the
understanding and skills.
There's a little bit of like a Richie McCorness to him, and you hate to do that. You hate to do that comparison, but his all-round game is heading in that direction.
I think he's a lot more skillful than Richie McCaw. I think Richie McCaw is. I think RD Xavier is a lot more skillful, has a lot better understanding of what he can do, and with the ball in hand and stuff like that. He's phenomenal at the moment, and I'm looking forward to watching him for the rest of the season.
Does John Cohen still have a job? Because I think that's 4 from 4 for the Blues.
Yeah, Sir John Cohen will soon be unemployed, and so will Richard Graham. But we'll get onto that later.
And they will probably end up either in Rabo Direct, Rabo Pro 12, or that Australian version of the NPC Curry Cup.
Vicious rumour that Robbie Deans was floating around Brisbane.
Yeah, there's also...
He's due to come back to a big side, and I've said from the beginning, I always wanted him to come coach the Stormers. I think he's a great coach. I think
There's also the small matter of Ewan McKenzie.
Yeah, he fluffed it with Australia, but he's been in Japan for a while. I'm talking about Robbie Deans. But you've got Robbie Deans and Ewan McKenzie that are floating around looking for work, and there happens, coincidentally, to be 2 teams.
One in New Zealand and one in Australia.
Cross-pollination.
Ends up in Auckland.
Cross-pollination, bud.
And then the Rebels up over the Force. So much for picking the Force to be the dark horses of the tournament. 21-17.
Yeah.
Is that right? Yes, 21-17. The Force got up on Friday the 13th. Mike Harris, 16 points, basically. Which means that the Rebels sit above the Force in Super Rugby logs.
The Force are playing are in South Africa this weekend. Well, I know that Marcel's in Durban. I know the boys are down, and a mate of mine's a biokineticist. He's gone up to join the team and help them out. So yeah, they're in South Africa for a little trip, and I know the Honey Badger's loving it, being at his home. I say in inverted commas, with the Honey Badger go and rip the canisters off a sleeping lion.
They're talking about having Lions canisters ripped off. The Crusaders.
See what I did there.
The Crusaders 34, the Lions 6. Two Kierans with tries, a penalty try and an Andy Ellis try, while Elton Janchis, who has been moved to inside centre this weekend.
Due to injury.
It doesn't matter why it's due.
Yeah,
it's a cock call. Yeah. He's made 12 changes to that line side ahead of this week.
Really?
Yes, 12. We'll get onto that later. But 34-6, the Crusaders getting the little bit of bounce back ability that they needed to get their season going, with the Lions capitulating in Christchurch. Highlanders, this one surprised me. 26-19 over the Waratahs, and they were good for it.
Very good for it. The best thing about the Highlanders and the Hurricanes being on form is that's the opening game on Friday. And we are in for a humdinger. Got more to chat about the Hurricanes and the Lions, but that's got to do with the Stormers. We'll discuss that later.
5 tries for the Highlanders against the defending champions, and the 26-19 makes it look like the Tars were in it, but they weren't.
It's just one of those things.
Yeah, they had an opportunity to maybe snatch a draw and a bonus point, a 4-try bonus point, but they were down. I think Stephen Hoyles scored a try in the 78th minute to make it 26-19.
To give them a glimmer of hope on the scoreboard.
Yeah, and make it look like they were in the game, but they weren't. They were never in the game. Talking about never being in the game. Richard Graham's Reds 0 in Brisbane. If you want to see an empty stadium the next time the Reds play, it'll be that one.
A 0.
Brumbies,
can you believe
29.
It?
I believe that makes the aggregate score between the Brumbies and the Reds 66 points to 6 this season.
Whoa. It's it's a shocker. There's going to be shit. People will be fired and killed and murdered, and Adam Thompson's still having a good season. Believe it or not.
Yeah, but he's a great player.
Correct.
In fact, it's worse than that. it is 76 points to 3.
Yes, ass.
47-3 in the first game, 29-0 this weekend.
Wow. I think stick that is insane.
It's Super Rugby. My God, the Reds are the new Lions.
I don't know, the Lions are trying hard to get that back, eh?
Right, let's tear him a new one, because this is what I can't fathom, right? Chiefs, well played, 28-19, 3 tries to 1, probably deserved the win. Damon de Allender, watching him live in the form that he's in, is right up there right now in terms of centres. He skinned Sonny Bill twice in this game.
But it is important to note that last week, everyone, there are the pro de Allenders and pro everyone's, and it was on as even, I feel, and the same as last week against Franstein. I think de Allender got over and above him, but the class of the other two got their own back. But that little step and shift outside,
bye Sonny Bill.
That should have been points. Phenomenal cover tackle on
Cobus van Wyk.
Yes, I wanted to say de Kock. Yeah, Cobus van Wyk, phenomenal stuff, and excellent game. To a point.
Here's my question, right? Because, and we're going to get into talking about potential Springboks, but right now, on form, that Stormers front row, the strawberry chocolate and vanilla of Interbeni, Koch and Kitshoff, I cannot fathom why you would choose to take all 3 of them off when they are smashing the Chiefs scrum, left, right and centre, and that basically was the end of the game for the Stormers. The coach wants to say that the kickers let them down. It's why take off a front row that is dominating.
And it's been more evident than anything this season is that your game plan is started and the structure is started from a solid base, and that comes from the first 8 players in the side. They did get, just before they were taken off, they did get pushed back on a scrum, and bearing in mind the Chiefs brought on McIntosh, who was an absolute beast. But I agree with you. I don't feel that making a front row change of such a magnitude in such a short period of time was needed, and that destroyed the game. My other big issue was rotating the 9-10 combo for this game.
Well, that's where I was going to get to it. Like you say, they're away, they got a break, and then they're away in New Zealand and Australia for the next 4 weeks.
They play the Highlanders, the Hurricanes, and the Waratahs away, then they play the Force.
Yeah.
Now, that could be a 0 from 5 in the next 6 weeks, potentially, because they could possibly lose. And
and the best substitution that Alistair Kansia made this weekend was Nick Groom coming on, and it was only because Schroeder got injured.
Yeah, I thought Nick had a so-so game,
but he was better than being replaced.
But the thing is if you're going to put in a guy like Schroeder, as a squad rotation, who's had very little game time for the whole tournament as it is, he's going to be a bit rusty. I mean, I feel for the guy, and he's taken a massive knock on his pip, and I hope he's okay, because that looked Anna. I'm a big fan of Coleman, but I didn't think this week was the game to make those changes. I understand. It was beyond me, because this game for me was your swing game for your season for the Stormers.
But aside from that, the only players that have to be rotated and rested are the Springboks. Right?
Listen.
No, I understand. Have to be. I'm saying have to be. In my opinion, there was no need to change the 9 and 10 combination for this game. Certainly not both of them.
I'm with you.
Okay, so now let's get on to what the fuck is going on when you're down by 9 with 8 minutes to play, and you get 2 kickable penalties, and you put them into touch against one of the best defensive sides in Super Rugby of the last 3 to 4 years.
And considering your pack didn't really have the upper hand anymore, so that's a point
questionable. It's a point lost.
Yeah.
If they miss out on a home semi-final because of 1 point, it is going to be that one, right? Because they would have put them within 6, and I'm not saying that they would have gone on to win the game, but at the very least, get the loser's point, and you're getting the receive from the restart to go and try and win the game.
It's not that they would have won, it's the fact that they put themselves in a position to win, and that's where you want to be. Any Super Rugby side that puts himself in a position to win with 2-3 minutes on the clock can very potentially do it.
And granted, you could well put yourself in a position to win it by scoring a try from the lineouts, but when the first one hasn't worked, take the kick.
Well, and also when you've got Dimitri Kachakilis on, who's going to be smashing them. And I don't think that Kurt Coleman, just on that, everyone is saying Kurt Coleman's terrible, his biggest concern is kicking off the tee. He didn't have a bad day off the tee. He missed 1 or 2, but he was pretty solid. It was his kicking out of hand that they struggled with, and that was because the Chiefs' defensive line was beasting down on him.
I have no issue with the way Coleman went.
I love him at 10, eh?
Yeah, for me, the game was won and lost on taking off the entire front row. And then my bugbear about not taking 3 points when you're down by 9 with 8 to play. By all means, go for the line-out drive when you're down by 6.
Yeah.
But get the loser's point. As much as I hate the concept of a loser's point, it's there and available. Take it.
I agree with you. I could not agree with you more. It was shocking. But anyway, let's jump into the good part of South African rugby.
Yeah, look, the Sharks got up over the Cheetahs. I must be honest, I was a bit worried for them, but Marcel Coetzee with what sounds like 2 driving Maul tries again.
3.
No, he only got 2 though, I think.
He ain't got a hat-trick, but...
No, Jack Wilson's listed as the other try scorer.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I'll have a look.
But I stand corrected. I'm looking... and Frans Steyn definitely did get a try though, and Francois Venter got a 1 for the Cheetahs, and Francois Brummer kicked a conversion.
Patrick Lambie with his 5th straight phenomenal game. He was on fire again and looking good, and we've got... I know I keep harping on it, but damn it, we're looking good at 10 for the Springboks. Both our 10s are on form and looking pretty at the moment, so quite happy with that.
100%. Back to his stealing best off the bench.
Machine.
So 27-10, or was it 19? 10. 27-10. Bonus points for the Sharks as well, which is what they needed. Ahead of what comes, because what it means now, and this is what frustrates me, is the Stormers should be on 17 points because they should have taken a kick at goal. In fact, the Stormers are the only team to yet pick up a bonus point of any kind 4 or 5 games into the season. They do now lie third, but essentially the Chiefs have got more points than them because obviously there's this whole daft setup with a guaranteed spot. Anyway, Brumbies are top on 20 after decimating the Reds 2 games in 5 weeks. The Reds are probably glad they don't have to play them again. The Hurricanes are the surprise package of the season. Let's be honest. They're about as much of a surprise as the Reds being the bottom. Just to, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but just to kind of bring the importance of bonus points in, the Brumbies have played 5, won 4, and lost 1. They have 20 points. The Stormers have played 5, won 4, and lost 1. They have 16 points. They could easily not be in that, not be in the top 4. And it's such a massive thing in the structure and the way this tournament is set up. You want to be in the top 2. And there's no saying that the Stormers could not have been in the top, in second or third spot. It's just beyond me. But anyway, I'm sorry. I digress. You jump in. No, I'm done jumping in. Fixtures this weekend. And as we
Are we on radio this weekend? Are we going to be doing a little bit of Blokes on the Couch on Friday morning?
I would hope so.
Okay, great. Because the Highlanders Hurricanes going to be an absolute cracker. So join us here on Loud Radio on Friday morning. If you're stuck in the office, you can stream us and stay abreast of what's happening in massive New Zealand derby.
We could potentially, depending on time constraints, also do the Rebels versus the Lions at 10:40.
Let's put that on ice for now, but I'm not opposed to it.
We'll see how the afternoon goes. Talking Lions, as I said, 12 changes, and the big one is Elton Janchi's at 12. Crusaders Cheetahs on Saturday morning.
Crusaders plenty.
Yeah, shame for the Cheetahs. Bulls Force. I think the Force may well be contending for the wooden spoon by the end of their South African sojourn.
Bulls coming off a bye. Most of the Bulls boys back at home living it up in Camps Bay, so let's see how that goes.
And then
Sharks Chiefs.
It is indeed.
Not to finish us off, but Saturday finish us off. And obviously now the Chiefs losing their centre pairing, and Marty McKenzie's been brought in the squad. So Damian McKenzie, Marty McKenzie, one of them will be at 15 and the other most likely at 12. Unless
Cruden plays 12.
Unless they push Cruden to 12 and put Damian at 10.
Janchi's playing 12. Anyway.
No one wants to play 12 against Frans Steyn with a smile on his face because he'll kill you.
So
Sunday
Sharks
is a
Chiefs
cracker.
and then Tars Brumbies. So we've got 3 banging games on this weekend: Highlanders Hurricanes, Sharks Chiefs, and Tars Brumbies. And the best part of this weekend, the Stormers can't fuck anything up.
Yeah, the boys are on a bye and then they're off. So they got a lot of work to do, and it's a tough 2 weeks for them a week and a bit to think about what happened against the Chiefs, and hopefully they can right their wrongs and see what they can do. But yeah,
right. Let's have a little bit of a match debate.
So I would like to. I think every week maybe. Well, let's see how well today goes. But let's discuss a few things, and we sort of start teetering on the book barometer. Now, I had a very interesting conversation with a number of people yesterday on Twitter, and I would like to get your opinion right now. A 12 and a 13 for the Springboks. Right now. Let's say the World Cup starts tomorrow. Who would you name at 12? Who would you name at 13?
Just to clarify, are we only picking South African-based players or anybody?
No. You can't not only pick. Sorry, you can't only pick South African-based players. Anyone will go according to the unwritten rule that we think Sari run by. That if you're a captain, you're playing overseas, you can play.
Yes.
If you're not captain, you're playing overseas, you won't be selected. So CS Eberson can't play.
No, he can't.
But Brian Abana can.
Yes.
Okay. Cool. Go for it.
12 and 13. Right now, on what I've seen live, De Allende is a shoo-in.
Okay.
At 12, and I would play Frans Steyn outside him.
Wow. Excuse me? Really, eh?
Mm-hmm.
That's very interesting.
Now, they can alternate the 12-13 role. They both play them.
Fuck, we know Heineke May loves that. Whoa, interesting. I haven't even thought of that as an option.
Alternatively, just based on the last 2 weeks in terms of his presence on score sheets, Jan Serfontein's got to be there or thereabouts.
He's right now. Okay, now I'd like to say who would be your Rugby World Cup centre pairing? Because having a test centre pairing versus having your guys you would take to the World Cup, who would you take to the World Cup as your bankers? See, it changes things up a little bit.
Well, look, I've said it before. In my opinion, and let's assume that Frans Steyn's back in the fold. Right? He stated that he isn't, but I have a suspicion that he will be. And then it's down to, are you playing Lambie or Pollard? And whoever you play, whether it's Lambie or Pollard, Steyn is in all likelihood the 12 option there in a World Cup in Europe in the heavy weather. And then at 13, Jan Serfontein with his ball carrying skills, it's not.
Well, it's not the fact that he's ball carrying skills; it's the fact that Heineke May stated that he's going to be the best 13 in the world.
Yep, at the game that Meyer wants him to play, which is catch a ball in two hands and just run straight at the opposition with the flanks coming in to clean up and set it up for the halfback to spread it back to the second phase.
Yeah. So my biggest issue, as you know, is we don't have a 13 at 13. And that's a big problem for me because I believe 13 is quite a good and a technical position, and it's a very different position to 12. Your defensive lines are coming at a different angle, and attacking-wise, that split second when we have turnover ball or when they have turnover ball, our 13 needs to think like a 13, not think like a 12. And whether it's on attack or defense, I think we're going to ship points or drop points or not get them, and it's a worry for me. I had an interesting chat yesterday. I just want to throw a spanner in the works. Jesse Creel was mentioned as a 13 option, and I know he won't travel to the World Cup. Well,
neither will Peter Steph Toy.
About that. It's unlikely that Jesse Creel will go to the World Cup, is what I should be saying. But there's a great option as a 13, and he's got an outside back mentality because he plays at fullback, and he has played at 13 for the junior box as well as 12. But I think he's more of an outside back. I think he's more of a 13. I'm going to have a little look at that, but seeing him at 15, he's got the potential to want to run around people and stuff like that. So there's an option at 13 for the future. But my option, and I'm honest, and I'm not lying when I say this, and I'm not saying this to get the people riled up, but on last year's performance, and he hasn't played Super Rugby this year, but on last year's performance, I would have picked Rainer Benjamin at 13. I thought Rainer Benjamin last year was sublime. He's got all those 7 skills, and he's been sharpening them, and he offers a hell of a lot on defense and on attack. He's got a lot of pace. I just thought that he was a better option to have as a 13. But right now, I think if all politics aside, I think Frans Steyn is your 12. I feel for Damien de Allende because I think, the thing is Dukes can sit on the bench because he offers an option at 13. Worst case scenario for me, I don't want to think of him as a 13 because I believe he's a 12, but he also offers a winger option. So, unfortunately for his versatility, he may sit on the bench. And 13, and I don't want to say it, but I think Jan Serfontein, just because he's been there, but JP Peterson's not the worst shot. I think if he spends the rest of the season playing 13 for the Sharks, he might just work on his skills because that to me looks like a plan.
Sure, but then who are your wings? Habana's obviously one.
Habana and Cornel Hendricks.
I'm not convinced by that kid yet.
He was left wanting defensively. If he can work on that,
that's my point. If I'm talking in a World Cup, JP Peterson and Habana have
best
got to
defense.
be the wings.
Yeah. Well, maybe there's an option on the big games to have him on the wing and have Jan Saffontein at centre. I don't know, but Conor Hendricks will go to the World Cup. I think Willy Leroux. I think we're struggling for another 15 option for Willy. So we need some depth. We still don't have depth at 3, 5, 9, 12, 13, and 15 at the moment.
They're talking threes. And I just want to go there because there's no June test this year.
We've got the Rugby Championship, and then we've got a number of games post Rugby Championship.
Yes, in September and October, yes. Japan, Samoa, Scotland, and the USA, all in Europe. But my question is this, because there's rumours that a certain Stephen Kitzel Firecrotch is off to Europe after Super Rugby, potentially after Currie Cup. Will he be capped? And Vincent Koch is going to be.
That kid is a beast. And he's still very young. And you know
what? He knocked out Sonny Ball Williams.
Yeah, doing favors with his pip. But I'll tell you one thing that has interested me, and obviously having a look at the Stormers tight 5, because they struggled when the bench tight 5 came on. But damn it, they got a young tight 5, eh? Wow. Their tight 5 is young, and for them to be dominating at the moment is pretty good. They just need to sort out the guys off the bench to maybe work on them technically and to get them up and running. But we potentially in for Koch. I'd love to see him capped, but as with anything, and don't want to speak ill of the man, but as of if you look at Marnus Boshoff, second season syndrome is a reality. So we need to see what happens from that point of view.
Stephen Kitsoff is 23 and will be picking up his 49th Super Rugby cap in his next 50th Super Rugby cap in his next game.
Didn't he get it this weekend? I think he got it this weekend, mate.
23rd of Feb.
Kitsoff ran out on his. He got his 50th this weekend against the Chiefs.
I was very belted. Yeah, it was rather. But so that's that. As we said, we'll be back on air for Highlanders versus the Hurricanes this weekend, Friday morning, right here on Loud Radio, Blokes on the Couch, commentary with balls.
Please send us your book barometers. I want to find out your just use a hashtag book barometer and let's have a look at the 12-13 options. And I think possibly Monday next week we'll send out another talking point. Maybe we'll discuss hookers or something. We'll let it out. We'll chat about it and let's see what's going on. I think the biggest concern would be, for me, is 3, 5, 9, 12, 13, 15. I think that's the kind of up in the air space, but we know we do need a little bit of depth. So yeah, send us your thoughts on Springbok centres.
Lekker. Folks, you've been listening to Drive More live here on Loud Radio. We will be back Friday morning for commentary with Balls, Blokes on the Couch, and back on air next week, Tuesday, to wrap up the Six Nations Champions and what's going on in Super Rugby.
If you're in Cape Town,
and we'll know the semi-finalists by that stage of the Varsity Cup.
Yes, and if you're in Cape Town on Saturday, Hammies are playing Evergreens in the last group stage of the Community Cup. Please pull in to Greenpoint. Catch you later.
Cheers, bye.
Thank you very much. A couple of songs from a new LP we'd like to do for you now.